What's up, guys? Welcome back to another fresh edition of V Media News Read. I wonder waiting I for the talk about if to say PDP, not the Niger. The party is certainly keeping things interesting as regard this election. Anyways, before I start with waiting this up with PDP, subscribe, like, share, and comment below. Thank you. Amaechi catching stray bullets as PDP deals Wike more blows. At this point, it is safe to say no matter how well you keep up with the People's Democratic Party PDP and its leaders and all the drama within, you cannot predict what happens in the next event or episode. Last time was the raging call for the resignation of the party's national chairman Iyorchia Ayu, and for a candidate from the south to replace him. Nigerians were, however, hit with a plot twist where Walid Jibrin resigned his position as the chairman of the party's Board of Trustees BOT. He cited his desire for peace in the party and his commitment to the victory of the presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar as his reasons for resigning. We all want to make Atiku Abubakar become the president by all means. And that is why I sincerely decided to step down from the BOT he announced at the BOT meeting on September 8. I discussed this with the candidate and he agreed with me. I am sure if the party wins, I will be given a bigger position. He was immediately replaced by a former Senate President Adolphus Wabara from Abia State, who would serve in an acting capacity. Many, particularly in the Atiku camp, believe that Mr. Jibrin's resignation and Mr. Wabara's appointment will bring the much-needed reconciliation and peace that the party needs, especially since Mr. Wabara is from the southeast. The push for reconciliation in the party was born out of the Rivers State Governor Nyesom Wike's anger at the party and some party members for breaching its constitution and betraying him during the presidential primary in May. Having lost the presidential ticket to Atiku, and after Atiku failed to pick him as the vice presidential candidate, Mr. Wike would go on to threaten to work against the party in the 2023 general elections. Besides bragging about having control over the votes that come from his state during elections, the governor also claims to be influential in many other states outside the South-South region, enough to garner an impressive number of votes from those states for any candidate he chooses to support. Mr. Ayu's resignation as the party's national chairman and a reshuffle of the National Working Committee (NWC) was part of Mr. Wike's condition to Atiku to get his support. Well, Atiku and his camp would later tweak Mr. Wike's request and deliver Mr. Jibrin as the sacrificial lamb. A sacrifice that was clearly not enough to appease the governor. A shame, an insult, and a few other words similar to these were Mr. Wike's reaction to Mr. Jibrin's resignation. In his usual expeditious manner, to borrow the words of President Muhammadu Buhari in his letters to the Senate, Mr. Wike would go on to lament how the PDP is unserious and unprepared for the 2023 polls and how the party comprises many enemies within and how he again fought for the survival of the party after it became an opposition. I had to interrupt, guys. Make una no vex for me. Na so we dey do for here. You know say get us una go subscribe rich. I no go dey bug una again every time about subscription. Yeah, so let's keep the channel growing by subbing, liking, sharing, and commenting. You know how they be now. Not too much. Let's get back to the news. His call for Mr. Ayu's resignation, he said, is to correct the lopsidedness in the party's leadership structure. He has also described it as agitation for the inclusion of the South in the structure. Already, he has some Southern governors like Samuel Otom of Benue State, Sheyi Makinde of Oyo State, and Okezie Ikpeazu of Abia State supporting him. Until Mr. Jibrin's resignation, most top positions in the NWC were filled with officials from the North. Anyway, after his reaction, Followers of the happenings in the party would expect one of two things to happen next: that Atiku and the PDP will reconsider Mr. Wike's demands and perhaps try to reach a compromise, or that the party would resist further humiliating or aggravating the governor. None of that happened. The party released the list of members of its Presidential Campaign Council (PCC). Among the 326-member list are the Sokoto State Governor, Aminu Tambuwal, Mr. Wike's foe, who was named Director General of the Council, and Mr. Makinde, Mr. Wike's ally, who was named the Council's Vice Chairman South. Mr. Wike also made the list. He was named a member of the Council. A whole Wike member were the reactions of many Nigerians who saw the list. You would think that with his anger and threats and for failing to give in to his demands, the PDP would consider him for one of the top positions in the council, or so many thought. Different reactions have trailed the composition of the PCC and Mr. Wike's appointment as a member. While many say all the regions were properly represented on the list, others are of the opinion that the council headed by Mr. Tambuwal is unfair to the South. Another argument would be that it is not entirely safe to entrust Mr. Wike with a huge responsibility on the council, especially since he still holds a grudge against Atiku, the candidate he should be campaigning for. The party's failure to remove Mr. Ayu as national chairman last week spelt "do your worst" for Mr. Wike and his team. But with the PCC list and Mr. Wike's appointment as a member, it appears the governor has been relegated. No, he has not been silent. In fact, he has been busy delivering speeches at events and signing bills and commissioning projects and, as usual, throwing jabs at whoever he places at the receiving end. But how he has chosen to stay silent on his appointment as a member of the PCC still baffles many. Usually, it takes the governor at most 4 hours to respond to issues like this. His silence raises a lot of questions. Is he okay with the appointment? Will he now work with Mr. Tambuwal as the campaign starts in a few days? Has there been an agreement that Nigerians are not aware of? Was he promised something bigger? And most importantly, why is he quiet? That's the news, guys. Hope y'all are as entertained as I am by this whole vibe called PDP. Catch y'all again soon. Bye.